I looked at the stack of labels on the table in front of me and wondered where this habit came from and how I started doing it. I always removed the labels from my beer bottles. I sat there for more than an hour and a half, waiting for my stepmother to appear, and the pile of labels grew. Adele called me at work and asked me to meet her for a drink. She said that she had something important that she needed to talk to me about, and so far she has called me on my cell phone twice to say that she is late, but that she is on her way. I usually don't sit around and wait for people who are late for meetings, but this time curiosity pinned me to my chair. Adele and I never got along, and I didn't expect us to ever get along. I really had to admit that I was just as much to blame for this hostility as she was. After Mom died, I thought that Dad replaced her too early, and that's why I was a little cold towards Adele when she moved in with us. For her part, Adele was too bossy for someone new in the house, and for the two teenagers who lived there. For some reason, my sister Vicky immediately took a liking to Adele. But within 3 days, Adele was already telling me what to do and how to do it. It's something you just can't do with a naturally rebellious teenager who's still grieving the loss of her mother. And it never got better. I went to college on a football scholarship and almost never returned home. Spring break, holidays, summer vacation. We're all spent somewhere else. And if my dad wanted to see me, he had to come see me because I wouldn't go home if Adele was there. He visited me and tried to mend the relationship. It was just as hard for Adele to get into this situation as it was for you when you were there. She has good intentions and works hard. Try to meet her halfway. He never understood that there were two problems: Adele and the fact that I never forgave him for his obscene, at least for me, haste in replacing my mother. I graduated from school, got a job, met a girl, and got married, and more to please Sandra than for any other reason. I made an effort to maintain family ties with Dad and Adele. It wasn't that difficult since I was no longer living with them, but Adele and I never managed to overcome the armed truce. And now, out of the blue, she wanted to meet me for a drink. I saw her walk through the front door of the bar and noticed that all the heads of the men in the establishment turned to look at her and appreciate her beauty. I didn't like her very much, but I'm not blind. Looking at her, it was easy to understand why my father followed her. Even at 43, she looked like a cute, fit girl, 20 years younger. She maintains this image with daily workouts on the exercise machine in her basement and 5-mile runs 3 days a week. Against my will, I felt something stir in my pants when she headed towards the table. I stood up as she walked over to my table and extended her hand to me. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me here, and sorry it's so late. I had something to do before meeting you, and the person I was supposed to meet with was late himself." She sat down and I asked her what she was drinking. She replied, "Scotch with ice, Dewars, if they have it." I stood up to get it, and when I returned to the table, she was taking a large envelope out of her purse and placing it on the table. She took a sip of her drink, set the glass down, and got straight to the point. "I have a serious problem, and I'm trying to figure out what to do about it. Honestly, until yesterday, I didn't realize that this was your problem too." "And my problem too?" "Yes. Before I get to that, I need to clear things up, so to speak. First of all, I know you don't like me, and it might surprise you that I completely understand that. But your father was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I wasn't going to let him go. I wasn't going to wait a year or two and risk him finding someone else. This is not the case now, and I will never apologize for it. Next, you must understand that I love your father completely and irrevocably, and no matter what happens, I have no intention of losing him to someone else or throwing his worthless ass out onto the street." Adele saw the expression that appeared on my face and said, "Yes, I just said in the same sentence that I love your father and that he is worthless. This brings me to our problem. Your father is having an affair. Why is my father's affair my problem? He's having an affair with Sandra." "What? You must be joking." "I wish it were like this." She pushed a brown envelope towards me. "The reason I was so late is because I had to meet with the private investigator I hired to pick it up. They're actually quite frank. He had to bribe quite a few people to install the cameras and get these pictures. I opened the envelope and pulled out several 8 by 10-inch prints. Adele was right. They were very frank. In the photo, Sandra was having dirty sex with my father in different positions and in different places. I was stunned. Sandra is cheating on me. Why? When? How long has this been going on? I don't know. I only found out that he was hiding something 3 weeks ago when I found a condom in his pocket while doing laundry. He doesn't need them with me because I had a hysterectomy 6 years ago. I didn't tell him at the time, but it was eating away at me, so I hired a detective to find out what was going on. I didn't know he was dating Sandra until I got the detective's report last night. He followed Sandra home from the hotel, and when he told me her name and address, I knew for the first time that it was your wife. She watched my face for a few seconds and then said, "You had no idea? She didn't give you any reason to suspect anything?" I shook my head. "No, I don't even know if there's a problem between us that could make her have an affair with anyone, let alone her father." "Yes, well, he is like that, or rather they are like that. The reason I asked you to meet me here was so that we could discuss what would happen next." "What do you mean?" "Well, until yesterday, when I found out that my problem was also your problem, I had already decided on a course of action. I didn't mean to directly tell your father what I knew. Instead, I was going to return the favor and let him find out. Then I was going to ruin his secret love life in a way that would make him feel damn guilty. I mean, that's what I was going to do until I found out it was Sandra." "What were you going to do?" "Take a few lovers, have them leave a few love bites in strategic places, wait until your dad notices them and says something, then throw him the photos. Then I was going to find a way to frame the girl he had sex with and put her in jail for a year or so. Your father would know that I did it and why, and he would feel damn guilty for causing it, and he would make sure it never happened again. I can't do that now, at least not in the second part." "Why not?" "Because, stupid, it would affect you. Even if you hate me to the core, you are still part of the family, and I don't cheat with my family, unless, of course, they make love to me first. So the question now is, what do we do?" She was a lusty animal in bed. She squealed and screamed, begged and obeyed. Her heels drummed against my feet so hard that I suspected they would be bruised when we left the hotel. She laid out the photographs on the floor and we reproduced each one. She was insatiable, and as soon as I was discharged and stopped aroused, Adele did everything to excite me again. In the end, I was defeated. I just lay there like a log, no matter how hard Adele tried. The plan was to copy the photos, rent a room, make love, and then go home. When our spouses comment on love bites, we'll post pictures to them and say, "If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me," and then move on. But about an hour later, when I went to give Adele a hickey on her chest, she screamed, "No, no, not yet, not yet, not yet." I wondered why she was backing out of this plan. I can be a little dense sometimes, but it wasn't until I had sex that I realized that if we marked each other, it would be over as soon as the marks were noticed. Unnoticed, we could do it again and again and again. After we got dressed, Adele collected the photos and put them back in her purse. "We don't need to copy them yet, do we? At least for a while?" "Maybe never," I said, pulling her into my arms and kissing her. Maybe never. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.